Hi, I'm Catherine Richards, and this is a presentation about what it really means to be happy. Over the past decade, social scientists have been grappling with the question of what happiness is and what counts as being happy. Therefore, this presentation critically evaluates the evidence associated with happiness from our relationships, health, wealth, and achievements, to critically evaluating cultural assumptions and the definition of happiness. For instance, in one culture, it is seen as something to strive for, while in another culture, happiness is attributed to chance and luck. The rest of the presentation deals with the question of whether happiness is always a good thing. Would it be boring if we felt happy all the time? And could we be putting ourselves at risk? It concludes by summarising the findings and explaining how happiness can affect the counselling relationship when there are different opinions. This brings us to the question: is being happy as straightforward as we think? Let's begin by evaluating what is happiness and can it be defined. There has been long debates about whether happiness is culture relative or not. From a universalist view, happiness is not limited to a particular scope. According to Veenhoven, we can identify with the feelings of pain. We all know what pain feels like. Same as happiness. If someone tells us they are happy, we can also relate to that feeling. On the other hand, the relativistic view is that there is no reference point and happiness is more comparable to beauty because it changes from person to person, culture to culture. For example, not everyone likes the same characteristics and personality traits. We all find different things attractive and nice. In modern psychology, they assume that happiness is a combination of 4 elements: life satisfaction, good health, relationships, work, and the presence of positive affect and low levels of negative affect. However, defining happiness is tricky. Teale argues that there is no single definition for happiness, and people are only happy if they believe they are. Teale and Safdar et al. Suggest that happiness is defined differently from cultures to culture. For instance, Western cultures consider happiness as an important value. Most Americans define it as enjoyment and pleasure. Eastern cultures, on the other hand, attach less importance to happiness. East Asian countries believe it is not appropriate to express happiness in many social situations. There have been several authors that have suggested that there are 2 pathways to pursue happiness, and that is based on different motivations. However, as the above quote by Dyer 2009 suggests, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. There have been 2 different perspectives on the paths to happiness over the years. These have been called the hedonism, which pursues pleasure and avoids pain in order to be happy, whereas eudaimonism strives for happiness through accepting who we are, and it looks for the meaning in what we already have rather than chasing happiness. Happiness is what happens to us. These words are often used by many to suggest that happiness is from external uncontrollable factors or from good luck. In ancient Greece, it was challenged by Democritus that the path to happiness was not as a result of good fortune or external circumstances. He said happiness is subjective, and it is from our ability to attribute mental states. Even so, literature shows that the path to happiness is often still defined as good luck in many cultures. For instance, many people living in East Asian cultures assume that happiness has something to do with luck or good fortune. So, can we measure happiness? Literature argues that happiness is subjective and therefore quite difficult to measure. Other literature argues that happiness cannot be measured by scientific explanations because it would be impossible to measure it objectively. Ed Diener, on the other hand, says that happiness can be measured. He developed a questionnaire with a scale of 1 to 10. How would you rate your happiness? Sutton, 2019, says that by measuring happiness, we can compare ourselves and learn from it, recognising patterns in happiness. However, Waldinger and Schultz point out an old saying: we are always comparing our insides to other people's outsides, and many people can compare themselves to others, which adds a lot of pressure to feel happy. Relationships seem to be an important element for happiness. There is a wealth of research that shows that relationships with other people make us happier and healthier. Being with others who are happy and experiencing joy and positive emotions can have an impact on our well-being. Not only that, but research has found that people who live alone have a higher mortality rate than those who are in a relationship. However, being in an unhappy relationship can lead to negative feelings such as stress, anxiety, depression, or loneliness. Wilding does suggest that good relationships make us healthier and healthier. However, if someone is in an unhappy marriage or relationship, they are more likely to experience negative feelings and even physical pain. Therefore, Smith suggests that maintaining low marital stress and a good network of friends and work colleagues can increase life satisfaction and happiness. Can where we live affect how happy we feel? Whether it's living in a town or living in the countryside. Research has found that people who live in rural areas of developed countries report feeling happier and have a higher level of subjective well-being than people from urban areas. Piper 2015 found that residents living in capital cities of 16 developed European countries were less happy. For example, living in a country where most basic needs are met, where there is a space to pursue dreams and raise healthy families, is associated with low levels of sadness and stress. There is also a growing body of literature suggesting that access to nature increases well-being, such as walks, camping and gardening. Although just because somebody lives in the countryside doesn't mean they're going to be happier than someone who lives in the city. Someone who lives in the city might well be happy with the noise, the busyness, being close to shops and commodities. They might, again it's subjective, they might enjoy that. Although Caldwell and Evans 2018 suggests that people that live in the cities, if they have access to parkland and they can supplement visits to countryside outside of the cities, this can improve the level of well-being. On reflection of COVID 2020, if you lived in the countryside, you could have had walks and had that space to get out and have fresh air, whereas someone who lived in the city might have felt quite isolated and lonely. They might not have been able to get out as easy. They might not have had the space to be able to go for walks. So there is that difference. And also that literature does show that people that do live out in the countryside are happier and have a higher level of well-being. I think less than you are capable of being, you will probably be unhappy all the days of your life. Abraham Maslow, 1971. This quote brings us on to the next part, which is success. Following on from Maslow's quote, can success and money bring happiness? This is one of the most disputed and researched questions of all time. Many successful people struggle to enjoy their accomplishments. When someone has chosen the path of entrepreneurship, it's usually by choice. However, research found that 72% of entrepreneurs feel depressed. Dina et al. 2007 suggests that happiness is not always straightforward and linear. For example, people who feel moderately happy have been known to achieve higher levels of education and income. Literature has also found that people who feel positive and happy have a higher level of success. Asselman and Spitch 2023 say they have found something called the set point theory. This states that someone experiences an increase in happiness as a result of life events. This could be from buying a new home, from winning the lottery, or starting a new relationship. However, this increase in happiness does not last. Social life. Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of power is that there are different types of power. For instance, some people, especially those with hierarchical power over others, can have overconfidence, which can in fact make them less aware of themselves. Therefore, they are not as powerful and as strong. However, If people are aware of their power, it is a natural aspect of human nature. Frederick argued that individuals who embrace their power are the ones who are truly alive and fulfilled. Studies have shown that power is associated with greater happiness and less mental health illness. Power can also enhance well-being and life satisfaction. However, studies have found that power can lead to a negative effect on mental health. For example, people with a higher power were less likely to pick up on other people's distress and show less empathy towards them. So there's health factors associated with happiness. Physical health and attractiveness influence happiness, and happiness is also linked to increased health and mental health states. Neuroscience studies have shown that some parts of the brain and neurotransmitters play a role in controlling happiness. Zanotto et al. Argue that people who are repeatedly feel better over the years have a lower mortality rate than people who feel poor emotional well-being. Positive experiencing emotions are associated with better health and longevity. Studies have also shown that smiling can make you happier. What do you think is happening here? Can too much happiness be harmful for us? Fight, flight, freeze or fall. Our body reacts in different ways to situations. It's crucial in coping with stress and threats. Triggers can help people to perform better at school, college or work. So being happy for too long could mean you let your guard down. It could mean that you don't react in the appropriate ways, which potentially leads to danger. So it's not ideal to feel happy all the time. Anxiety, fear and anger all have evolutionary purposes, which keep us safe and keep us on guard. And we react in the appropriate ways to how we feel and what we know keeps us safe. Davies' 2009 meta-analysis identified that people who experience overwhelming amounts of happiness no longer experience the same creativity boost. So they lose that creativity. Gilbert and Irons argue that difficult emotions are just as important as happier emotions. In fact, having a balance of both positive and negative emotions can improve judgments and subjective well-being. Clients attend counselling to feel better and feel happier. However, this can be difficult when past and current experiences blur future expectations. From my own culture, as a white British female who also lives in the country village, it's important that my own values and beliefs do not get in the way of the session. As a person-centred counsellor, I support clients with Rogers' core conditions of empathy, unconditional positive regard and congruence, and it's essential in not assuming that everyone experiences happiness the same, and not allowing my own agenda to get in the way of the session or assuming what would make someone happy. As mentioned earlier, research suggests that many people feel significantly under pressure to feel happy, which means they have poorer emotional well-being. Theorists such as Maslow and his hierarchy of needs and Freud with his pleasure principle assume that reduction of tension and the satisfaction of psychological and biological needs leads to happiness. Positive psychologists nowadays push for positive thinking and affirmations, as these help to maintain a self-esteem. Freud suggested that people strive for happiness and to remain happy. He said this has both negative and positive sides, as people aim for the absence of pain and displeasure, and at the experiencing of strong feelings of pleasure. Aristotle argues that happiness is not an immediate and permanent state of being, more a life goal by knowing one's virtues and choosing the greater goods, such as health, knowledge, wealth and friendships. Therefore, clients understanding that everyone is different. Happiness is not going to be there all the time. It's something that comes and goes. And that it's good to have some negative feelings and emotions as well as the positive ones. This quote by Carl Rogers, 1995. The good life is a process, not a state of being. It's a direction, not a destination. So just remembering that it is a process and it is ongoing, and we won't always feel happy, and we're going to feel a mixture of emotions depending on how we are and what we're going through, what we're experiencing, and everybody's unique and different. Brings us to the end of the presentation, and we can conclude that happiness is a subjective experience. It is unique to us and our values, whether we value life in the city, its noise, entertainment, and the easy access to commodities, or whether we prefer the peace and quiet of the countryside. If we constantly feel happiness, we lose interest, creativity, and run the risk of falling into danger. If we don't feel negative emotions, then how can we enjoy the positive emotions? And how can we enjoy happiness? Life is a process of emotions and feelings that match our daily experiences, from which we can learn to live a healthier and happier life.